Welcome to Phantom Futures. Today we talk about alien megastructures, the mystery of Saturn's hidden ring city. On December 3, 2156, at exactly 1447 Universal Time, Dr. Kenji Yamamoto was conducting routine spectroscopic analysis of Saturn's rings from the Cassini 7 orbital research station when his instruments detected something that shouldn't exist. At first, he thought it was a calibration error, maybe cosmic ray interference corrupting his data, because what appeared on his screens violated every understanding of natural planetary ring formation. There, hidden within the Cassini division, that dark gap between Saturn's A and B rings that astronomers had studied for centuries, was a structure. Not a moon, not an ice chunk, not any natural formation catalogued in decades of observation, but something geometric, something deliberate, something that could only have been built by intelligence far beyond human comprehension. The structure measured approximately 850 kilometers in diameter, roughly the size of Texas, and it was rotating at a precise rate that kept it perfectly synchronized with the ring particles around it, camouflaged by ice and debris for God knows how long, potentially millions of years, waiting in the cold dark of the outer solar system for someone to finally notice it was there. Kenji's hands trembled as he ran the analysis 3 more times, each scan confirming what his mind refused to accept. The structure wasn't solid in the conventional sense but appeared to be a lattice of impossibly thin materials, each strand perhaps only meters thick but stretching for hundreds of kilometers, woven together in fractal patterns that repeated at every scale of magnification. The material itself registered on instruments as something between matter and energy, flickering in and out of detectability as if it existed partially in dimensions human sensors couldn't fully perceive. Most incredibly, the structure was generating power, massive amounts of it, electromagnetic signatures radiating at frequencies that suggested fusion reactions or perhaps something even more exotic, energy production on a scale that made Earth's entire power grid look like a candle compared to the sun. Within hours of Kenji's discovery, every space agency, every government with assets in the outer solar system, every private space corporation scrambled to redirect telescopes and probes towards Saturn. The images that came back stopped the world in its tracks, humanity collectively holding its breath as we stared at undeniable proof that we were not alone in the universe, that someone or something had built a city in Saturn's rings, and that city had been operating, waiting, existing right under our noses throughout all of human history. The structure became known as the Ring City, though that name barely captured its complexity. As more data poured in from increasingly sophisticated scans, researchers realized they weren't looking at a single building but an entire civilization's worth of infrastructure. The lattice structure formed districts, each with distinct energy signatures and organizational patterns. There were sections that appeared to be massive power collectors, kilometers-wide arrays capturing solar radiation and Saturn's magnetic field fluctuations. Other sections resembled data processing centers, geometric patterns suggesting computational architecture far beyond anything human technology could achieve. Some areas generated gravitational anomalies, tiny warps in spacetime that suggested propulsion systems or artificial gravity generation. And at the very center, shielded by layers of the mysterious lattice material, was a core structure that defied all analysis, a sphere approximately 50 kilometers in diameter that absorbed every sensor beam directed at it, revealing nothing about its composition or purpose, a black box within an enigma wrapped in cosmic mystery. The questions multiplied faster than answers could be found. Who built this? When? Why hide it in Saturn's rings specifically? Was it still active or just ancient ruins operating on automation? Most urgently, was anyone or anything still living there, and if so, were they aware that humanity had finally noticed their presence? The United Earth Space Council assembled an emergency mission, the fastest deployment of resources in human history, repurposing the Mars colony ship Prometheus for a journey to Saturn that would take 18 months even with the most advanced propulsion systems available. The crew selection process was brutal, choosing 15 individuals from thousands of volunteers, scientists and engineers and linguists and even a philosopher, because nobody knew what skills would be needed when making first contact with a civilization capable of building megastructures in the outer solar system. Commander Lisa Torres, a veteran of the Mars missions and asteroid belt survey operations, led the team, a woman chosen not just for her technical skills but for her calm under pressure, her ability to make impossible decisions, and her uncanny talent for solving problems that had no precedent in human experience. The Prometheus launched from Earth orbit on March 22, 2157, accelerating outward past Mars, through the asteroid belt, beyond Jupiter's massive gravity well, heading for the ring giant and its impossible secret. During the long voyage, the crew pored over every bit of data transmitted from the growing fleet of probes surrounding the ring city, looking for patterns, searching for any clue about its builders. Dr. Sarah Chen, the xenolinguist, became convinced that the structure itself was a form of communication, that its patterns encoded information if only humanity could learn to read it. She spent months analyzing the fractal geometries, comparing them to mathematical constants, to physical laws, to every form of symbolic representation humans had ever developed. And slowly, tantalizingly, patterns emerged. The structure's design incorporated ratios found throughout nature, the golden ratio, pi, the fine structure constant, universal mathematical truths that any technological civilization would discover. But more than that, the pattern seemed to be teaching, building from simple concepts to increasingly complex ideas, almost like a primer designed to bridge the gap between wildly different forms of intelligence. As the Prometheus crossed Saturn's orbit and began its approach to the ring system, something changed in the ring city. For the first time since its discovery, the structure's energy output spiked dramatically, sections that had been dormant suddenly blazing to life, and most remarkably, a portion of the lattice began to reconfigure itself, folding and unfolding in real time, creating what appeared to be a docking port or reception area. The message was clear: they had been noticed, they were expected, and whatever intelligence operated the ring city was inviting humanity inside. Commander Torres faced the decision every explorer dreams of and dreads: to accept the invitation and potentially walk into danger beyond imagining, or to maintain safe distance and observe from afar, gaining nothing but losing nothing. She chose courage over caution, as humanity always has when faced with the unknown, and guided the Prometheus toward the newly formed docking structure, her crew strapped in and silent, hearts pounding, minds racing with anticipation and terror in equal measure. The docking was smooth, eerily so, as if invisible hands guided the ship into perfect alignment with the alien structure. Through the viewports, the crew could see the lattice material up close for the first time, and it was even stranger than instruments had suggested: surfaces that seemed to shift between solid and transparent, colors that hurt to look at directly, geometries that made the eye slide away unable to quite focus. When the airlock cycled and Commander Torres opened the hatch, she expected vacuum or alien atmosphere or hostile environment. Instead, she found breathable air at comfortable pressure and temperature, as if the ring city had analyzed the Prometheus during approach and adjusted its interior specifically for human physiology. The gesture was welcoming but also demonstrated power, the casual ability to reshape environments on command, technology that might as well be magic from humanity's perspective. The crew entered the ring city in full environmental suits anyway, trusting but not stupid, and found themselves in a space that challenged every assumption about architecture and physics. corridors that curved in impossible directions, rooms where the floor became the ceiling depending on perspective, distances that seemed to change based on intention rather than measurement, all of it illuminated by light that had no visible source but filled every space with gentle radiance. They walked for what felt like hours, but their instruments insisted was only minutes, time itself becoming slippery and unreliable in this place that operated on rules humanity didn't understand. Eventually, inevitably, they arrived at the central sphere, that mysterious core that had resisted all remote sensing, and a doorway opened before them, not sliding or hinging but simply becoming solid matter transitioning to empty space through what looked like will alone. Commander Torres stepped through, and what she saw inside would change humanity forever. The sphere's interior was vast, impossibly larger than its exterior dimensions should allow, a space that contained what could only be described as a museum or library, or perhaps a message intended for whoever eventually found this place. Holographic displays, if that term even applied, showed the history of the Ring City's builders, the architects as humanity would come to call them. They had been ancient when Earth was young, a civilization that had mastered matter and energy, that had built megastructures around hundreds of stars, that had seeded life throughout the galaxy and watched it evolve with the patient interest of gardeners tending cosmic gardens. Saturn's Ring City was one of thousands of such observation posts, placed strategically throughout promising solar systems, designed to monitor and record the development of life, to remain hidden until the emerging civilization reached a technological threshold that suggested they were ready for contact. The displays showed other worlds, other species that had passed this threshold, some that had gone on to join the community of advanced civilizations, others that had destroyed themselves despite the architect's best efforts to guide them toward wisdom. Earth was special, the displays suggested, humanity interesting in our particular combination of creativity and destructiveness, cooperation and conflict, our remarkable ability to solve impossible problems and equally remarkable tendency to create new ones faster than we solved the old. The architects had been watching humanity since we first looked up at the stars and wondered if we were alone, and now that we had found their Ring City, now that we had proven ourselves capable of reaching beyond our home planet, we were being offered a choice. We could receive the knowledge stored in the Ring City, technologies and insights that would advance human civilization by centuries, understanding of physics and biology and consciousness itself that would solve every material problem humanity faced. But knowledge came with responsibility, the burden of understanding consequences, the weight of choices that would determine not just humanity's future but potentially the future of countless other developing civilizations we might encounter as we spread through the galaxy. Commander Torres and her crew spent 3 weeks in the Ring City, barely scratching the surface of the information available, trying to understand the implications of what they'd found. When the Prometheus finally departed, carrying data that would take generations to fully analyze and understand, they left knowing that humanity stood at a threshold, that the mystery of Saturn's hidden Ring City had been solved only to reveal deeper mysteries about our place in a universe far stranger and more wondrous than we'd imagined, that we were not the first intelligence to reach for the stars but we might, with wisdom and effort, avoid being the last. Thank you for joining us on Phantom Futures, where we explore the incredible mysteries hidden in our cosmic backyard and the revelations that await humanity among the rings of distant worlds.